Love it. Yes.
And we're live.
I'll let you just say it. And yeah, so here we are. I'm Laura Jane, or LJ, and this is Veronika Winski, my very cool and talented friend. uh, and I was just telling Veronika how I love her background because it so represents like what you represent.
Yes, the dream
Currently.
living.
Currently. And I love to use that word currently, right? Because you're all about, well, I feel like one of your strongest wisdoms that you bring through is your understanding of energy and what you teach about that. I don't mean to put you in a box at all. So I find that word current works, like what's current with you, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. How do you feel about that description that's one of your layers of expertise anyways?
You know what? It's when I hear it's me. It's part of me. It's who I am. But it also feels a little bit surreal because if we rewind back 10 years ago when I left the corporate world, I would never, ever in a million years describe myself as someone that knows anything about energy, does energy work, or I thought that energy was a whole bunch of hoopla, It's for those people.
I love that you share that too as part of what you teach, because you're so all about that we can dream up the life that we really want and that we really should. But yet you also have that part of your story that you almost would have never imagined that you would come here. So how do you help us deal with that fact?
Well, it's about
that we can't even imagine what's possible in a sense, right?
And right now it's not easy. It's not easy to tap into that vision because everything that's happening around us with, the information that is being like pumped into us from all areas. And what we surround ourselves with and who we listen to and what we believe is true becomes our reality. So 10 years ago, not even 10, more than 10 years ago, when I was still in the corporate world, I really believed that this is my world, this is my reality. And I could not see myself as anything else other than a corporate worker, corporate machine, as I used to call myself, the lean, mean corporate machine. That's why I love being on your show, because sometimes the words that are shared with people that went through this process of waking up from the common dream of the collective and are waking up to their own dream, it sometimes takes one thing for you to hear or read. For me, I remember that moment. It was when I was on the plane with my corporate job I was flying out to Cincinnati, Ohio to score a big account for the job. I was an executive account manager for a food company. And on the plane, I read The Secret. And that was my first time that I read information that I felt like remembering. And it made so much sense. And up to that point, the only things that I was learning about was when I was in class. So it was very like limiting. So that opened my gateway. But once that gateway is open and the ripple begins, that's it. It
Yes.
ripples out.
Ooh, yeah, that's so fun to remember that it can be that shift can happen like a ripple, and so it's really it can maybe if it starts and feels small at first. And for me too, The Secret, the movie, was definitely a transformative shift for me. And I really love though that this year, especially, we've had you talking to us about even imagining that we could still think about a dream life, right? And I love what you just said. Oh my gosh, it's so big about how it's about waking up from the collective dream, which right now feels a lot like a collective nightmare, right? And
Yes.
it's so strong. And then you're like someone reminding us we are creating it. And then, yeah, so take that and play with that. Oh, it's just like so powerful and helpful. But it's like I'm so thankful that you're strong enough and you're knowing about it to be bringing it through this strongly at a time when so many, right, feel so weighted down with the collective dream. and it's really hard not to believe it, right? Or to just like
Yes, and
get stuck in that's just what reality has to be. Oh,
because that's why it's so important to have a dream and to every day do something, no matter how little, as long as you do it every day, that keeps you connected to that dream. Lean into the
wow.
curiosity of the potential of, let's say you are working, I don't know, job A, and there is a job K, and you're like, whoa, I am at job A. I don't know nothing about K, but I really love K. You
Yeah.
know what? Learn about that. Be like, look at the people maybe that already have it. Find literature
Mm.
on it. Find different way of getting yourself connected with the confidence that you can either go after that other job K, or maybe a business, maybe a venture,
Mhm.
and whatever it may be, and just get curious. And every day, spend a little bit of time in that space of curiosity.
Ooh, curiosity with this like dream in mind. And I love that. I think you're someone who reminds us like, and I think it's so true that if we don't feel like we have like a current dream, right? Whether that's even just our dream for our garden or our dream for our health, right? Or our dream for our relationships, right? It can be so many parts of the dream life that we might be focused on. But it does feel so true that if we don't feel like we have that dream of some sort, and if we're not doing something each day towards it, even, it's so part of why we might be struggling with our mental health so much, right? And just feeling so down and
Yes,
stuck
because
in the
that's what
collective
we
dream.
keep focusing on all the time, and it's you have to make an effort not to hear everything that's being blasted our way, because that's how they are reprogramming us. As a global collective, we're being reprogrammed.
Yes, yes.
You know,
So how do you handle that? Because I know you like to be informed and aware, and you've also been someone who you're speaking up about different issues, like with Black Lives Matter and different, so I see you as someone who very spiritual and like so leading edge with what you see as possible, but yet you're grounded and still tuned in. So how do you finesse your way through feeling like you're informed and you're participating, but not getting programmed?
you know, being aware. So I stay connected as to what is happening, what is the information that everybody is being fed. But I do it very strategically. I just kind of glimpse in
Yeah,
there, and
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
allow it to ruffle my feathers, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Because to be honest with
Mm,
you, I believe that everything is an opinion and a point of view. And especially now, there's so many opposing ways, and like, this is the truth, that's the truth, this is right, this is right.
mm-hmm.
Oh, I just decide to like become aware of what's happening, what are the different opinions and points of views of people, and what are the different facts about the same thing. And then I choose to focus on something else. For me, this year, my big dream was to step into a new life of a world traveler. But because of the reality of things, of what's happening, I made the conscious choice to come back to the States from my travels because of that.
Mm.
So, in some people's eyes, my dream got crushed, it got ruined, but I made a choice. I'm like, okay, what else is possible? I'm here now. So that's why I put all that energy into recreating my business. How would you say it? Because we all moved from a platform that was one-on-one or in person to virtual. So that's what I've been putting my focus on. So when I am not glancing at what's the chaos of the world, I am focusing on connecting with different people. I am looking up information that's growing my
Mm.
mindset, that's growing my business, that's connecting me with the right people. And I'm using social media and Google to my advantage. Because so many times I hear people say, oh man, I'm going to give up Facebook because it's just so negative all the time.
Yeah,
Guess what? It's negative
right.
because you pause or you click into people's negative comments or negative points of views. That's how.
Mm,
So I use
mm.
my Facebook towards like clicking into things that are inspirational, into things that I can learn about, into positivity. So I get an awesome feed, and it feeds me the feedback of the people that I focus on. Oh,
Ooh,
like
Well
yourself.
said. Feed me. Yeah. And that's where, yeah, I feel like it's worth it to bring enriching content to places like Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, right? If we're all going to be here. So yeah, I agree. I don't want to give up on it and not participate. It might as well like work with our power here. And yeah, and I really appreciate, I feel like I want to bring up one of the things that you've been talking about this year that seems so still important, right? Because things have just gotten more intense since we first were talking in the beginning of the pandemic, right? As our habits, right, that we're currently forming and choosing, and just the ways that we're moving through our days, that we're kind of thinking we're not creating habits, right? Because a lot of us still are a little bit on pause and not making a lot of plans. But then you remind us how, but what we actually are doing is starting to create some habits and momentum, and we really want to look at that, right? So do you want to say any more on that in your current awareness on such things?
Yes, oh my gosh, habits is one of the biggest things that I love talking about because that's how we shape our lives. And people need to now become aware of what are you doing every day? Because, our subconscious mind is 95% of our mind, and 95% also of the thoughts and habits that we do and think of every day are the same ones from today, from yesterday, the day before, and the day before then.
Mm.
So unless we become aware of what is it that we are doing, we cannot change it. Because we're just going on autopilot. We wake up when we wake up. We think about what we think about. We get out of the bed most of the time on the same side. They're doing the same ritual without giving it a second thought. But that's actually how we are shaping our lives.
Mm.
So if
Yes,
we like,
right.
yeah,
Yes, and that you remind us that we're shaping it whether we're trying to or not, whether we're being conscious
yeah,
about it or not, right?
it's
We're
happening.
having energy and power, and we are shaping it. And so we really want to take a look at how we're shaping it, right?
Exactly.
And even though we are attached to the collective, I mean, how do you by other people's energy? How do you make sense of that these days, as far as yeah, how we're
That's
showing
a
up?
good one. I check in with myself. And again, I have to limit the amount of time that I put in front of my eyes and ears of other people's points of views and things that are really bringing me down. Because then I feel literally energy is being sucked out of me. So
Ah,
I stay very aware of when perhaps my day is going great and all of the sudden I feel crappy, like
yeah,
mentally crappy. I'm like, okay,
yeah,
I check in with myself. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I take a few deep breaths. I do the energetic reset, which I have as a free tool on my website. So I share that tool on my website because it's something that I use every day. So in a
yes,
moment where I'm
that's what I
like,
was gonna ask.
oh my gosh, this
Uh-huh.
doesn't feel right, and I'm feeling kind of, So I ask, like, who does this belong to? And then I ask for it to be returned to sender, to their highest self. But at the same time,
Ooh,
once I become aware, I do an energetic reset. So I pause, I exhale, like whatever that
ah,
was. And then I take the cleansing breath, which is described in the link. And that's how I, with awareness, do it. And it's being aware of you, of yourself, of the inner dialogue, of what you're focusing on. And if something's not feeling right, check in with yourself. What are the daily habits? Like, how does your day look like? What are you doing throughout your day? What are you thinking? What are you focusing on? Because that is what's contributing to how you are feeling. So for me, if
yeah,
I'm not going to feel so great, maybe I was watching some show that was a downer. Maybe I've been paying attention to the things that I'm plugging myself into the global collective to see how they're doing, and maybe I forgot to unplug myself. And again, to unplug
yes, yes.
yourself, become aware, exhale, that take that like mindful conscious breath with your whole body to reset yourself, to bring yourself back, because the breath, it's a resource that's free, that we can use at any time, day or night. and it can shift how we feel almost instantly.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I remember this year when I asked you maybe what was your most spiritually connecting thing you do. And you said that it was conscious breathing was
Breathing.
your most like powerful feeling tool with yourself. And so it's fun to remember that we're doing all of the above when we use tools like breath and the awareness and the focus and the attention. And then I know you've been talking a lot about shame and what role that might be playing. I've seen with some of the other places you've been doing talks and being on people's shows. What
Shame and
do you want
guilt.
to talk a little
Yeah,
bit about that? Yeah, shame and guilt and
definitely.
what role that's playing,
You
especially this
know,
year.
especially this year, because the global collective is in this dire space and in this space of hopelessness, pandemic, unemployment, political, conflicts. Um, when people begin to plug in to that dream and things accelerate quickly, because just as intense as the negative energies are, the positive are also just as intense.
Mm-hmm.
So you may plug yourself in and all of the sudden everything is working out great. And you're like, oh my gosh, things are great. I'm loving it. And then that guilt comes in. Wow,
Yes.
like, should I be this happy? Like, how can I be creating and making money and helping and like doing all this? And people are dying and people
Yes.
are, homeless and they are all of that.
Yeah.
Awareness. Become aware when you are doing that and remember that you simply plugged yourself in to the other global collective of unlimited opportunities and possibilities, and knowing that when you are growing and when things are going great for you and you are feeling elevated, uplifted, blissed out, then that is what you are contributing to the global collective. So
Mm.
instead of feeling guilty or shameful about the goodness that's showing up in your life, delete
Mm.
it immediately. And you can delete it out the same way as other people's energies. Exhale out and then slowly do that conscious resetting breath to bring yourself back, to remind yourself that what we put out is, and how we are feeling is what we are putting out. So if we are feeling exuberant and abundant and excited, then we are putting that energy out into the global collective. The more people that get plugged into it, the more chances we have of the axis tilting the other way, that
Uh,
we will see more of the positivity come out instead of all the negative stuff. So
that
remind
is so helpful.
of the guilt. Let go of the guilt, because everything in the end is a choice. You've made this choice, so embrace it. If you decide to,
Yes.
if you choose to leave a job that seems like it's so great and everybody's like, wow, how can you be leaving this job? You have everything that we wished we had and you are not happy. Lose the guilt,
Mm.
lose the shame. I remember before I left the corporate world, um, it was during the last time that the economy crashed and I was really unhappy with my job. But I remember people kept saying, you are so lucky, you have this great job. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I should be feeling pretty lucky. I should. I kept
Ah.
shooting on myself. That's one thing, don't shoot on yourself, because
Mm.
also
Wow.
embrace
And I
it.
think that's
Yeah.
so helpful because I really feel like a lot of us, me too, aren't even aware how much we might feel guilty if we are managing to feel happy in moments like in a year, right, like this, right, because of knowing there's so much unhappiness and there's so much intensity and so much to be worried about, right? And but how then, yeah, we like pull ourselves back down when we do that, almost thinking that's us being responsible, right? Like, oh yeah, I need, and I, because I can totally relate with me posting like dancing videos sometimes. I'll almost reflect like, oh my gosh, am I just seeming so disconnected to the world by sharing that I'm having these moments, but you help me see that no, I'm representing that this is also happening in the world, right? And that we can find that joy and bring that joy, and then yeah, even more be in that space to help. I feel so clear about that
Yes.
when
And I
we're
love seeing your
really down.
videos. I love I love seeing your videos of dancing, of your retreating, jacuzzi time. Amazing. Yes, more of videos like that. That's what we need, because
It's
through that we are uplifting everyone instead of, bringing them down.
right. I guess, yeah, I guess I've felt willing to share that that's what's working for me to get through these times, or to even be in a sense, in a space of inspiration, is to be doing things like that. So that's what fuels me to share that. But yeah, and gosh, I just so appreciate your influence with reminding us to dream up our best life. And I remember that you have some really neat exercises where you encourage us to like spend time each day envisioning our best, our highest. I don't know how you like to say it these days, but I imagine that you would encourage that we could be doing that for the world as well, if we're like concerned.
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah.
The more that we plug ourselves into a vision, that we can feel into it. So if I
Mm,
always like to focus on self, because that's in
mm,
the end, we can have the biggest impact on ourselves and on the creation of our lives. And when
wow.
we focus on ourselves, then we are able to be of contribution on that level to the world. So
Uh,
I usually encourage people to focus on their joyous lives, on their highest self, on their divine
yeah.
self, whatever
Uh,
self that resonates with you. That if there was no limitations, if there was no past that's holding you back, as you make yourself believe that it's holding you back, which is not true actually. And
mm-hmm,
picture what would that you look like,
mm,
and play with it. What would that you be like? What would that you contribute to the world? And just be
uh,
in there without goals, without any of it. Because when we start to set goals, there's my monkey.
yes.
I thought I no normally have my little monkey assistant here, the monkey mind, because the monkey mind always gets in our way. So if we're
Ah,
dreaming, and if it's a goal, then the mind is figuring out how to achieve that goal. And
ah,
the vision of yourself, the mind cannot imagine, it cannot figure it out, because
ah,
but if
wow.
we set the vision that is not big enough, then the mind will try to be like, well, be more like this, figure it out. The vision has to be big enough where your higher self is living the grandiose life that your mind would not think is even possible, so
Wow.
that you can feel giddy about it,
Uh,
or connect
so
with
you're
that
saying like
excitement.
kind of transcending goals?
I'm
Did you hear
sorry.
that? Kind of like transcending goals. Like goal setting is limiting what's possible. Is
Yes,
that kind of what you're saying?
yes. And also when you connect with that big vision, and then
That's right.
you connect with that feeling, then you can recognize every day, are you acting, are you thinking, are you
Mm,
behaving in such way that puts you in alignment with that version of your higher self, of
ah,
living that life. Like,
okay.
for
So
example,
that's where you bring the goal like mindset in, and is more taking
yes,
a look at how you're actually being in your days and your moments, and does that align with that vision? Is a way to
how are
kind
you
of,
showing
yeah.
up? And again, that's again when we do full circle, it comes into those habits. Are your daily habits in alignment with that vision of your dream life and of your higher self?
Wow.
So
So
again, it's not goals, it's everyday things. Are you waking up and think like, oh my gosh, I don't have any time in the during the day, but you could wake up an hour early and do something
mm-hmm.
that would contribute to that? Or
Mm,
are you complaining of being, I don't know, fat and unhealthy? Well, what are you doing throughout the day? Pay
mm,
attention, because
mm,
that's the result that you're getting. And if you would like to have something, if you would like to have a different life, you have to show up differently in the world, and you cannot become that person with the same habits that you created the person that you are today.
makes sense, right? And yeah, I just really love how you really help me see how that the keeping having the dream, keeping the dream, using the dream is like it can all be about the dream for whatever aspect of our lives, right? And that again, that we're already dreaming up something, maybe the version we don't like, and acting out that, right? And so you help us see that the more we can just harness that dream power that we have, right? And then just
Exactly.
be more and more in that mode of what's my highest dream for that part of me in my life, and then looking at how that's playing into how we're doing our days, right? With what choice we have. Ooh, and doing our minds.
Yeah.
Right?
How do you
That's
show
big.
up in your life? Are you
Yeah.
showing up as the person that you are right now, or do you have habits that are leading you closer to that other person? That is also you.
Yeah. And I appreciate that you, I think, magnify this awareness that it is really with helping ourselves and take caring of ourselves, even if we care so much about everyone else in the world, that's still our best way to help, really, right? I'm just going to say it, right?
Yes.
It's
Help
an
yourself
important,
first.
it's foundational too in our being able to help.
It is. Just like when we are on the plane, they say, put your mask on first. Take care of yourself first, so
Yeah.
that you can take care of others even better. Just like, we have to love ourselves and give ourselves self-love so that we can genuinely love others.
Right. Yeah. And so this is like a practical application of that, and loving ourselves enough to let ourselves, be in the dream life that we really most would love.
Even,
Right.
yeah,
And thrive
even
in.
when it seems like it's impossible. And I know it's not easy, but that's when it really counts. During these times when I go, how can I be dreaming if, I'm
Yeah.
behind my mortgage and my roof is leaking and my refrigerator and AC are broken, you know, you have a choice. I know it's not easy, but you have a choice of what you're going to focus on. Give yourself permission to think of what would it be like, what would it feel like if the opposite was the truth? What would it feel like if I had an abundance of money and my house is paid off and everything is working great? What would that feel like? Be in that dream state even for a moment, because
Ah.
that's how the laws of attraction work. If
Mm.
it get, people always say like, oh, same old, same things always happen to me. You know why? Because you keep focusing on the same stuff, and that's what you keep saying. Why does this always happen to me? Guess what? You're gonna get an answer by something very similar happening. You
Yeah.
ask, what else is possible here? What would it take for like something better to show up now?
Ah, yes. And I love that you help us see, like, it's so comes down to our focus and our attention, and it is absolutely how we're using our words and how we're using our imaginations, right? And it's undeniably our biggest power, right? So, ooh, wow.
And I would encourage, I don't like, my audience is not kids, but recently I've spoken at a podcast for teenagers. And
Yeah.
I feel like it's so important for the kids and for the teenagers to especially like focus on their dream. And, I know that kids are told, stop daydreaming. And I believe, no, daydream, because that's where creation happens.
Yep. Right. And to encourage our kids to daydream, especially now, like you said, especially now, it's so important how we're dreaming and what we're dreaming for ourselves and for the planet. But that you remind us that dreaming, even just for ourselves, is an amazing way to help the planet. And part of what that dream can be is seeing ourselves in our highest level, so that we can be contributing in whatever our unique ways might be, right? So,
Exactly.
oh, that feels so good.
Mm,
Wow.
yeah,
Well, I knew it would be easy to, it's like 30 minutes is a blink of an eye with you. But do you
I
feel like
know,
there's anything
really.
you want to add that you didn't get to share yet on these topics, or at this point?
No. The time to
Mm.
reinvent ourselves is now, because whether you like it or not, it's happening. So you have a choice if you're going to do it with awareness or without. So choose awareness, give yourself permission to dream, because this is the time in history when, this is it. This is it. This is the time to create and begin to step into a new
Wow.
life, because we're all stepping into it. How are you going to show up in that next chapter?
Gosh, that's so good. Wow. Thank you. I can feel that in my body. Yep, absolutely. So thank you so much, Veronika. And people can find you at your website. Is it thedreamlifeformula.com?
.com. Yep, the
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
dreamlifeformula.com. Yes, and
Yeah.
also
And
on my
on,
Facebook,
on
it's saying that
Instagram, Facebook.
the Dream Life
Mhm.
Formula. And this week, actually tomorrow, Thursday and Friday, I'm doing a special live Facebook and live stream through
Ooh.
Instagram
Oh,
class.
sweet.
Yes,
Okay.
so
Oh,
it's
good
the
timing.
purpose.
Yeah.
It's for the purpose-driven career challenge. 3 simple steps from corporate struggle to purpose-driven prosperity. So I'll be sharing some
Oh, man,
awesome
that
stuff.
sounds amazing. Yeah. So
Yeah.
people can still join that.
Yes, definitely. It's going to be going live from my pages, so you can just like
Ooh,
it and
I'll
you'll be
definitely tune
notified.
into that.
No need to
I
sign up.
so much out of your content. Great. Well, good timing. I'm glad we
Yay.
didn't know about it. Thank you so much, Veronica. I
Thank you,
appreciate it.
LJ.
I really appreciate you sharing your energy with us. All right.
I
Be
will
well.
always
Thanks
be
you all
here.
for being with us. All right.
Bye.
Namaste. Love you.